there seems to be no end in sight to the political drama in Manipur. Amid mounting dissent against Chief Minister Biren Singh, yet another BJP legislator, Biren Singh, who represents the Wangjing Tentha constituency, has quit his government post. In a letter addressed to the Chief Minister, Biren has cited personal reasons for resigning as the chairman of the Manipur Development Society. Worryingly for the Chief Minister, this is the third resignation in a span of just 1 week. A clear indication of growing discontent in the BJP's Manipur ranks. On the 13th of April, former cop and Hirok MLA Thokcham Radhesham Singh resigned as the Chief Minister's political advisor. 4 days later, Karam Sham, who represents the Langthabal constituency, followed suit and quit as the chairman of the Manipur Tourism Corporation. Both stated that a lack of responsibilities was the reason for their resignations. These three are among close to a dozen MLAs who are currently camping in Delhi to raise their grievances with the BJP central leadership. The events of the last few days have led the BJP Manipur unit to call a high-level meeting today. According to sources, BJP national spokesperson Sambit Patra, who's also the party's Manipur in charge, is expected to attend this meeting. Reports have quoted some of the disgruntled MLAs as saying, and I quote, "Things are not well in the state BJP. In a democratic country, one expects a democratic leadership, not a monarchy." They allege that the Chief Minister favoured development only in certain constituencies. One particular MLA has been quoted as saying, "In his son-in-law's constituency, you will see activities every other day. Our workers ask why no development is happening in our constituency, but we have no answer to give." Now, 2 of the 3 MLAs who have quit were cabinet ministers in the first Biren Singh-led BJP government in Manipur. The Chief Minister's first term too was marked by a number of run-ins with his cabinet colleagues who have often criticised him for his high-handedness. In 2020, Biren Singh had divested his Deputy Chief Minister, Y. Joy Kumar Singh, of all his portfolios after the latter allegedly criticised the Chief Minister's assurance of food security during the COVID lockdown. The question is, what will the central BJP leadership do to quell what looks like growing rebellion in the Manipur unit? Well, let's decode the Manipur crisis with my colleague Krishna. Krishna, how do you see this? There seems to be growing trouble for Biren Singh. 3 MLAs quitting in 1 week, and even though none of them wanted to be quoted anonymously, they've all accused the Chief Minister of high-handedness, practicing favoritism in constituencies, and not giving them any kind of encouragement or support.
Right. And meanwhile, there's a fourth MLA who has filed a police complaint, against, the BJP Yuva Morcha president, for a Facebook post as well. So, it's apart from the 3 quitting, there's a problem with the 4th MLA as well. So, the situation is extremely, tricky for Biren Singh because clearly there is nothing else that seems to be going on apart from the fact that dissatisfaction within his own ranks, dissatisfaction within his own team. And bear in mind, Manipur is going through a political crisis, a repeated political crisis. They had a political crisis back in 2022 as well. It's also going through other forms of crisis as a state per se. They have the immigrant crisis, through the immigrants from Myanmar coming in, the demand for an NRC, a different kind of NRC, unlike the one in Assam, has been the demand from the people. People went on protests last year as well, and that continues as well. Especially with the beginning of the year, we've seen more, immigrants coming in from Myanmar, and that is adding to the strain of the tribals over there. So there is a lot of discontent that seems to be brewing. They also had a water crisis. Thankfully, that got relieved with some rains about a month ago. So Manipur as a state is going through a lot of crisis, and they're going through a lot of difficulties. You even had, Consumer Affairs Minister, El Susindro, in January this year, talk about how there was a heavy deforestation for the cultivation of poppy fields over there that is adding to the water crisis over there. So there has been criticisms on other counts as well. But whereas, just to put it into context as to in which this political crisis is unfolding in Manipur. And as far as the Manipur crisis is concerned, it's very clear all the 3 who have quit, all the 3 MLAs have quit, are in Delhi to speak to the central leadership. And that's what happens, when in a party like BJP, where the decision making is centralized in Delhi, in the headquarters, So any discontent at the state level. We've seen this happen with the Karnataka politicians, camping out in Delhi, to get the ticket and the seat allocation. And in this case, there's an issue of people being sidelined, marginalized, despite being MLAs and ministers. So in that sense, the answers lie with the BJP headquarters and the top brass in Delhi, Neha.
Absolutely. So essentially, the disgruntled MLA seem to be arguing, Krishna, that they feel marginalized and invisibilized. But the question really is, and you listed some very important reasons or factors that have led to this crisis for the Biren Singh government. Apart from that, of course, it's also being attributed to the violent protests that we've seen in the state following the decision of the Biren Singh government to withdraw from the Cookie Truce Pact. That's also something that these MLAs are not happy about because their constituents are not happy about it. A lot of these disgruntled MLAs are from the Cookie community, right?
That's a very specific, that's actually the crux of the crisis this time around in Manipur. The fact that the Cookie tribe and the representation of the Cookie tribes within the Manipur government, they feel marginalized. And consequently, the people of the tribe feel marginalized. And that's why you've seen protests against the Chief Minister Biren Singh breaking out as well. Not just at the political level, but at the people level as well. So because this is a community issue and that is a tough, tightrope walk that Biren Singh has to do at this stage. And it's interesting because the Cookies do make for a sizable voting community over there. And that's the reason why they have so many MLAs representing them in the first place. So it is seems to be the fact that Biren Singh is sort of taking on a rather powerful community within the state of Manipur, and that's sort of showing up in terms of trouble for his own survival as chief minister. As it were.
And that now is the critical question, isn't it, Krishna? What does this mean for the chief minister?
Yeah.
It's interesting that even his first term was actually marked by a lot of controversies. He's always been accused of having a certain high-handed approach. Like I mentioned at the start of the show, he actually divested his deputy chief minister of all his portfolios in the first term because allegedly the latter had criticized him over certain issues.
So tell me what is new, Neha. This is what happens with leadership across the across the world. You're talking about absolute power that everybody seems to be after, from Putin to Xi Jinping. Manipur chief minister, is just a human being at the end of the day. So in the sense that yes, this is the classic case that can happen even in a corporate scenario, a setup. Where there's a team leader and there's a bunch of team, as a project leader and a bunch of team leads, and the team leads feel sidelined for their contributions, and who they represent, in that boardroom. So in that sense, Biren Singh's moves at this stage clearly seem as if it has not gone down well with his own people. But the question is, will there be a crackdown on him by the central leadership of the BJP? That's the big question.
Exactly. That is the big question. While you're right in pointing out that often, even in democracies, the lines between democracy and dictatorship often tend to blur. But what does this really mean for the future of the chief minister? Now, this is an issue that has to be settled at the end of the day by the central party leadership. Do you think that this challenge that the BJP now faces in Manipur, in a sense, is indicative of the larger issue that even though in recent years the BJP has made extremely impressive gains in the Northeast, finding not just a toehold, but actually making massive inroads in one Northeastern state after another, winning election after election. But does it now appear as if winning elections is easier than actually keeping the peace in these states, which, let's face it, face some very complex political and demographic issues?
Absolutely. Again, I would like to take the Karnataka example, another complex state where winning elections is one thing, but holding on to power is another thing altogether. Exactly. We've seen that unfold in Karnataka all the time, and the same applies for Manipur and so many of the northeastern states as well. So, fact of the matter is that the BJP has done some remarkable, has achieved remarkable in terms of electorally speaking in the Northeast is something that you can't write away. But the fact of the matter is that, like any other big national party, it will continue to have skirmishes within its state franchises, if I may, and it's all about how the central leadership handles these skirmishes for the long-term benefit of the party. Because at the end of the day, the people of Manipur are watching, so they would want to know answers and know what are the kind of moves that the central leadership of the BJP is taking, because they've voted for brand BJP to bring Biren Singh to power. At the end of the day, he's the representative of brand BJP, or he's the representative of brand Modi, in fact, in Manipur. So the people are watching. So it'll be interesting to see how the central leadership responds.